Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Bringing you the best in Blount County sports since 1978. Featuring the Greenfield Gunner, Mike Edwards, former Maryville Scott, Donnie Moore, and from the Daily Times, Marcus Fitzsimmons.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, and I'm here at the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville with longtime Blount County sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons, Carson Newman assistant football coach Tony Ierulli, and Alcoa basketball standout Dwayne Easter, and we're all here this morning. Donnie Moore is not here with us. He had some surgery this week, and he'll be back with us in the future. But we are, Don, if you're listening, we're missing you here this morning, and we hope you're well on your way to recovery. So
hurry back, man. Hurry back.
Hurry back. Hey, Tennessee and UCLA are set to collide in the NCAA tournament, and we're going to the whistle blows. And now let's set today's lineup card. Marcus Fitzsimmons will fill us in on the latest high school sports news, and I'll follow up with the top national sports stories. Marcus Fitzsimmons will be on board to update us on what's happening in local sports, and we'll cover the teams and individuals who are making a mark. Today, Marcus has the state champion Heritage High School Lady Mountaineer basketballers in the house. And I'll jump in and talk some NCAA tournament basketball and set the stage for the Vols game with UCLA. We're happy you're here with us, so let's break the huddle and dive right in. Good morning to everybody. Dwayne, good morning to you.
Good morning.
You got to be a happy guy. Alcoa is still in the tournament down there.
I'm supporting them today with
Murfreesboro, and they're going for another championship.
Yeah.
This will be a three-peat. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
What time they play today?
I think it's at 1:30 their time, maybe.
1:30 Central, 2:30 Eastern.
Yeah.
All right.
And Tony Ierulli, good to see you.
Good. Obviously, pulled for Alcoa, Eli Graff. Going to be quarterback for us at Carson Newman.
There you go.
Down there being point guard.
Doing a great job.
He is.
Marcus Fitzsimmons, good to see you. Well, you got some state championship basketballers in here this morning, and a lot of excitement
I hope
here.
so. I hope so. I see signs that they may be here.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what. I think it's ironic, but Coach Howard is going to be here, and if we want to get a first-hand recount of what shoulder surgery is like, so Donnie can know what's coming in the next couple of days, we can ask him about it.
Yeah.
So he has shoulder surgery and wins the state championship.
Well, the season started with Rick in a sling, and it ended with Carson in a boot, and in between they raised up a trophy.
That's the winning combination. Works well.
Well, I'm ready to go with a little let her rip this morning, and we'll rip the NCAA tournament a little bit this morning. I'm getting on them a little bit.
The tournament or the committee? When you rip, I want to make sure it's hitting the right person.
I guess the committee and whoever's involved, but I'm a little disappointed in it so far this year. The mid-majors aren't doing very well, and we've had an upset or two, but nothing to write home about.
No.
And I'm just looking at a real watered-down tournament, and I'm a little bit disappointed because I think it's just looks like a tournament to make a lot of money to me. And we had 14 teams from the SEC in there, and almost half of them are gone in the first round. We had 6 teams from the SEC that had losing conference records. 5 of the 6 are gone, and the only one that's left is Arkansas.
Yeah.
So, my question is, should they have even been in the tournament to start with? You're not even having a winning conference record. Seems almost unbelievable that they were even in the tournament. And then some of the mid-major games have been a little bit lopsided. But
that's what makes it all exciting. The first round where you see some of the upsets, and that's what gets people excited.
And you people out there, you got to understand, I got a lot of old school in me, and we finished twice while I was playing at the University of Tennessee. We finished twice second, one game out of first place to Kentucky, and we shared the conference championship one year, but they had beaten us twice during the year, so they got to go to the tournament. So we had 3 years that we would have been in the tournament. And all 3 of those years, we were either the conference champion or we were the runner-up, and we didn't even see the tournament. And now I'm seeing teams getting in there that didn't even have winning conference records. It's just a little bit hard to swallow. In fact, I'm going to go through that door out there and throw up right out here on the main drag. But
so how many teams did they have back in your day?
They started with 24. They had 24 teams, but that was a real championship tournament. because you had to win your league to get in. So you already were a champion to get in to the tournament, and then you played for the champion. You had the true best teams in America. They earned their way in there, and then when it went to 32, and it was pretty much the same deal. You had to win your league. Of course, there wasn't as many conference tournaments. I think ACC was playing a conference tournament, and maybe a few others. I don't know, but these were champions that got in back then, and now. You got this criteria, and there's a lot of teams in there. And you look at the mid-majors, that sometimes they don't even get their best team in because they play the whole regular season 3 months. And I've never understood this because they play 3 months. They have a league champion, and then they play the tournament. And whoever wins the tournament gets the automatic bid.
Right.
So you may not even get your best team in there as a mid-major because you don't win your tournament. Wow. So I don't know. Back in the old days, I think it was really a championship tournament. Now I don't know, Marcus. What is it, an invitational tournament, or what do we got going on here?
It's a TV tournament.
Money. It's money.
It's exciting to watch.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
I will, and this is how I'll say it has grown. When I was a kid, the biggest sports day outside of the opening of UT football season was Super Bowl Sunday. Yeah. That was the day you knew what everybody was going to do. The whole conversation the whole week was, what are you going to do with Super Bowl Sunday, da-da-da. Now I think that's been replaced because I think people plan what they are going to do Thursday and Friday, the first 2 days of the tournament. Yeah. They take off work. And no kidding, this is a true statistic. The number one day for men to schedule a vasectomy in the calendar year is the Wednesday before the start of the NCAA tournament. Because if you're going to spend a couple days on the couch with ice in your lap, what better days to do it?
You ever thought about that?
No, that never really popped up. I know.
And Charlie. What's that, Charlie?
Thanks for that heads up there, Marcus. These people can go ahead and get their appointments now. You're ahead of time, so they won't be delayed.
I'm sure they'll rise to the occasion.
We don't have a medical sponsor this year, and I'm just putting that plug out there that if BMH wants to get on board, we can work in the medical field into this.
I've got a couple of ideas here for the NCAA tournament. I'll throw out here and see what you guys think. We just got done with the SEC tournament there a week ago, and the Big Ten has a tournament, the Big 12 has a tournament, the ACC. Why doesn't the NCAA just start the whole deal with the conference tournament? The conference tournament starts the NCAA tournament, and the champions move on to the next round. That way, all those tournaments really mean something now. They really mean something, and they can start the NCAA tournament, and they can go on
Mike,
into the NCAA.
You say that like TV won't get involved, and what are we going to end up happening is the first exception is going to be, well, the runner-up, it was an overtime game. We're going to let them get a do-over like we do in high school in Tennessee, and they're going to get to go play somebody else's conference champion, and we're going to do it that way. And then we're going to take a step back, and it's going to be, the semifinal. If you made the semifinals, you should be in, and you should be able to go cross over and play somebody else's.
Okay, well, if you don't like that one,
all right, next.
I didn't say I didn't like it.
I've got another one.
I'm just
telling
you
like that. I'm just trying to get the true champion, the excitement, bringing the deal into the leagues, making all that excitement. I mean, you got a whole deal worth of excitement with all that.
I'm just telling you they'll corrupt it very quickly.
I understand. We're at that point. We got to give a trophy and everything to everybody. We got to get everybody in there. So let's get everybody in there. The NIT's dead. It's dead. Yeah. They had 11 teams that turned them down.
Oh, really?
And the NCAA owns the NIT. Okay, so here's what we do. We take the NIT and the NCAA. Now, forget the NCAA as it's set up right now. We have two different tournaments. We bring in more teams. Everybody gets a trophy this way. And the NCAA has a tournament, and the NIT has a tournament. Those are the names of the two tournaments, and you divide the teams up accordingly in those two tournaments. All right? And then you get a champion, an NCAA champion and an NIT champion. Both of them are the same, so to speak. Yeah. And then those two champions meet for the big deal. They win the big prize. They go for the, whatever you want to name that, the Super Bowl of college basketball. There you are. More teams, more money. The NIT lives on. The NCAA lives on. Everybody's happy. More teams are in, more television, more money. What do y'all think of that deal?
Well, what I think is it makes perfectly good sense. That's why they won't do it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna mess it up for you because let's add two to it. Let's take the Division II and Division III national champions,
And throw it.
make a new Final Four, and let the four of them play in a Final Four matchup. Because if you're one of the big guys, you're thinking, well, I've got an easy game here, but people will tune in to watch just for that chance to see the Division III team knock somebody off. They want to. That's what makes the tournament. It's the upsets. That's why people watch.
Yeah, that's why they watch the first 2 days.
Yeah.
You're looking for
Well, that's
that
why the
upset.
first 2 days are the most popular days, because that's where the upsets are, and that's why people watch. Basketball fans watch for the good games. The general public and the numbers TV wants, that they're watching for the upsets.
Okay, I've thrown two good deals out there.
I
I'm not
agreed,
selling-
I agreed with one.
Okay, well, I'm going to throw another one out there.
The football guy agreed with
The
you.
mid-majors, I've looked at the mid-majors
Okay.
down through here, and I know everybody likes it. It's a horrible year for mid-majors. I think it's going to get worse because of the NIL. They can't compete in the NIL, and they can't compete in the transfer portal. They're taking their players, folks. They're taking
That's
their
right.
players, these power deals. So what you do is you give the NIT to the mid-majors. The NIT goes to the mid-majors, and the NCAA goes to the power conferences, which, in the second round, that's where most of it is anyway, in the power conferences, and let them have the NIT and let the others have their NCAA with the power people in there. What do you like? That's the third. And this is I don't have any more.
That's
That's
it.
not-
That's
not
it.
a bad
I
idea.
don't have any more out there for you this morning.
That's
but,
not a bad idea.
Some food for thought, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of that deal?
You're the basketball expert. Go ahead. Go for it. Go
Yeah,
for
come
it.
on, Dwayne.
Yeah.
Come on, Dwayne.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, make it interesting, and I don't know, money-wise,
And
they're
gives
bringing
them-
a lot of money, but
And gives them a better chance at a championship.
Better
huh?
chance at a
Prestigious NIT tournament.
the NIT today is whoever watches it. Do you ever watch that?
You can't watch it anymore because, and I'm not going to argue why they've done this, but NIT used to be ESPN's domain.
Yeah.
Well, ESPN now owns the women's tournament, so I think only one of the first-round games was even on. I think everything else was on ESPNU or ESPN Plus. I think only one game made it on ESPN.
So I've never even. I
Well,
can't remember
the
last time I
NIT
watched
games
it.
were being played at the same time as the NCAA games, and so you had to
Well,
look.
they had them earlier. Like
They're
they're spread out like over 4 days
Yeah.
because there's no host site, so they're playing on campuses. But there were like 2 games on Wednesday when there was nothing but first 4 games, and that was
There's
like,
only 11 teams.
No,
11 teams didn't
Turn 'em down.
They turned them down.
Turn them down.
They
Yeah.
turned them down. And a lot of that has to do with the transfer portal. It opens up. While all these tournaments are going on, I think it opens up Monday, doesn't it, Marcus? I
Yep.
think it opens up Monday, so these people are taking jobs at other universities, and
I remember
and they want, and
UT's
they don't want to go to the NIT.
UT's played in that a few times. That NIT.
Huh?
Well,
Yeah,
Sam,
but when I played in the NIT back in 1970, I think 71 or 72, 71, I think. It was a big tournament. There was 24 teams in that tournament because they only took 24 to the NCAA tournament. So, I mean, you had some really powerhouses in there.
Yeah.
I mean, North Carolina was in there, Duke, and St. John's was in there, and Dr. J was up at Massachusetts.
That's
He was
it,
in
yep.
there. Purdue was in there. Michigan was. I mean, we're talking about a solid tournament. I mean, it was a national tournament. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like it
well,
was right
because
now.
it's so watered down because
Well,
the NCAA takes so many
I've
of
got
the.
that NIT watch, and every once in a while I put it on. Somebody will say, "Well, you have the NIT," Well, it was a big deal back then.
you got to
Yeah.
find better people to talk to, Mike. If they're talking like that to you.
I guess, but I don't wear that watch much anymore.
I bet the museum would probably take it.
I guess. Okay. Well, let's move on. Tennessee sports notes. Baseball. The Vols are 21-2, 4-1 in the SEC. And Marcus, they got a win yesterday down at Alabama. They beat the Crimson Tide 10-7. But boy, up to that point, it hadn't been a really good week. They lost East Tennessee State 7-6 here at home, and then they lost to Alabama in the first game there on Thursday, 6-5. So they'll play the rubber game to see who wins the series. That'll be today at 2:00. It's on the SEC Network Plus. So kind of a missed bag there. They really need to win today to kind of offset what happened early in the week. Huh?
They need to win, and I think they're perfectly eligible, perfectly ready to compete for it. The thing you got to remember is when you are in the position Tennessee is, and has been for the last few years, when you are a top 10 program and you are playing those midweek in-state games against, and not always in-state, even if it's just a regional game, if you're playing some of the Western North Carolina schools, they're not necessarily just going to take it as a midweek game. Sometimes you run into their Friday starter and their starting lineup while you've got guys you're testing and trying your second line in some places and working on some things. They're going for the win. And that will happen. And I think with ETSU, because it's a good program.
Sure.
I mean, it's a competitive team. It's somebody who could be playing have a mid-major spot in the postseason. I think Tennessee's secondary line bullpen kind of gave up some runs in the late innings to let ETSU come back and tie it and force extra innings. And I think there was a little bit of hangover from that on Thursday when they opened the series. First, you had the quick turnaround because of the television to start the series on Thursday. But then you end up with you have a big lead, and then you let it your bullpen kind of gives it away there. At the end.
And we've seen that in previous years. Tennessee Tech.
Is that who beat up at the Smokies Stadium?
Yeah.
I went to that game.
Well, you remember there's a couple times the UNC directionals have come in and beaten Tennessee in midweek games.
But you're exactly right. That's what they do. They'll throw their number one starter.
Sometimes they do that. They don't always do that, but sometimes they will, especially.
But
if
it's going against a Tennessee or one of those major schools. And while Tennessee, they're starting the number 4, number 5 pitcher, and you're trying to work a little bit on their depth chart a little bit, and so it's a whole different deal. One team's all jacked up, the other one's saying, "All right, let's get through this game, and so we get ready for the weekend."
And I've seen it in times past where it was the guy who was not a starter who lost his job his senior year because they had some good freshmen come in, and you end up with a guy that's been a starter for 3 years, and now he's starting the midweek game for you and goes out and throws the game of his life.
Sure.
I've seen that happen before. I've also seen it where they were trying out freshmen, and you saw a freshman you realize, hey, this guy's going to be a weekend starter before the season's over because he just threw the game.
Yeah. Lady Vol softball, they're 26-4 and 2-1 in the SEC. They beat Eastern Kentucky this week 8-0, and they got a 3-game stand at home starting today at 5:30, and they'll play today, tomorrow, and Monday. A lot of times they play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but they're playing Saturday, Sunday, and Monday against Arkansas, and all 3 of those games, the way I understand, are on the SEC network. So you can catch them there. And then the Lady Vol basketball team is in the NCAA tournament, and they'll play South Florida, I believe, Marcus, tonight at 8 o'clock. So you can catch the Lady Vols at 8.
No. They played South Florida last night.
They beat them last night.
Yeah.
Oh, they did. Well, I'm a day behind.
You're a day behind. That's okay.
Okay, so do they have Ohio State now?
We got to find out. I believe we got to find out who they play depending on what happens today.
Okay, well, that was
the Lady Vols, I think it was 101-77, something like that. They
Yeah.
were one of the 3 games yesterday where the winning team scored over 100
Then
points.
South Carolina got 108 against was it Tennessee Tech?
I don't know how I got that all mixed up. I know so much sports are going through my mind right now. It's hard to keep everything.
It's hard to keep up right now.
My apologies to
man.
my apologies to all those Lady Vol fans out there
If you
tonight,
want to make it more complicated, we also had national championships going on in swimming, and we had the Lady Vols and Vols medaling there at the same time.
Tony Ierulli, with what we got going on in Tennessee baseball.
Yep.
And Tennessee softball,
and
Lady Vol basketball in the NCAA tournament, and the men.
Sure.
Rick Barnes' group in the NCAA. It's hard to believe that spring football practice even happened over there. It's like in past years, it's got headlines all over the place, and you don't even know what's going on right now.
So far down the list right now, but I tell you though, I mean, this is really kind of I don't know if it's the right word, the golden age going on right now at Tennessee in terms of. All their sports programs seems to be at a very top level.
Yeah, life's good.
Yeah, everything's going well with football and this basketball teams, softball, baseball. Other programs doing very well. I mean, so it's really at a good spot right now. And so even the major sport of spring football, it's hard for them to get any publicity going on.
And
right
it's
now.
good and bad for the fans. It's good, all the excitement and all the winning. It's bad that you better pull that wallet out.
Yeah.
Better pull that wallet out because it's going to cost you a little bit more money.
Yeah,
It is.
What's the big thing that's going on right now with the major college schools is are they going to be playing spring games?
No.
Yeah, a lot of them are not. Colorado, I think, was trying to get Syracuse to go over and play a spring game.
And Syracuse is ready to go.
Yeah, they're ready to go. I don't know if it's a done deal or not, but that was kind of one of the major headlines from last
And that's
week.
the only way spring football will survive with the game because Texas A&M dropped their spring game.
Yeah.
Texas is considering it. I think UT is also considering because it's devolved into a glorified practice session because it's that whole we don't want to get somebody hurt thing, but it's also drawn off the interest in it because there is no game, there is no scrimmage, there is no build up to something. Practices are mostly closed these days. It's not like it was in the 80s and 90s where it was such a big deal and where UT set that record.
Used to you could get autographs too, couldn't you? At spring.
Yeah, I think you can if you're willing to pay for them.
Yeah,
and used to be lined up,
and
you used to you didn't have to pay for them.
And it's not a really a moneymaker, for teams and all that. And so when these major colleges having the spring games, I mean, teams now because of the NIL and transfer portal and all that, they don't want to showcase their top players. So other teams can look at it and try and make a bid for them. And so, a lot of coaches are saying, well, let's forget about the spring game.
It's just not right.
They don't want anybody hurt. They don't want anybody hurt.
Well, and that's another thing.
That's great.
Right.
So bring Notre Dame down here to play the spring game, and we'll play flag football. We'll play a flag football game.
You've been coach.
I mean, the pros, aren't they playing flag or touch football or something?
Yeah,
in the Pro Bowl
tag
or
and all that.
something?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
heck, bring them down here.
It's a whole different deal.
Bring
right
the
now.
leprechaun.
But even for us, I mean, we'll have a spring game, but probably some of our top players probably won't play in it because we don't want the chance of getting them hurt or anything like that. And so it used to be something for the fans, but I think the fan experience going to the spring game, I think that's kind of waned.
Well, if you got Lon Hersburn here and you got Ray Trail, you know what they tell you? They's tough back in the day. I mean, it was dog eat dog. That spring game at UT back here, we had a steak dinner on the line. We divided that deal up, and I mean, it was a tough deal. We grinded
That's right.
it
In
out.
fact, that steak dinner, we would split the steaks up and divide it by 2 or 3 and all.
You either got a
We would
steak
share.
dinner or ham sandwiches. If you lost, you got ham sandwiches.
That's right. They would.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about Tennessee basketball. I'm not going to talk a little bit because it's old news, but they did make it to the SEC Tournament Championship game last week, and Florida beat them 86-77, and Dwayne, Florida playing really well.
They were
aren't they?
playing really well. Those big guys were playing, and that what's that guy Clayton? Is that his name? Oh, man, that guy is unreal.
Inside out, they're
I
shooting
mean,
at the playing
deep.
inside.
They're deep on.
They
all
are.
yeah,
Deep. I'll tell you
yeah.
what. You can talk all about how they played that game against Tennessee, but down the stretch, I think they just wore Tennessee down.
Yeah,
Don't you?
But Gainey had a really good game and I think he's one of the on an All SEC team that's picked for the tournament or whatever.
Yeah.
Him and,
Well, got in
Ziegler.
foul trouble.
Yeah.
We lost Lanier, we lost Meshack.
Yeah.
Right there, and right there at the end of the game, and
But they had early foul trouble early on in the game.
So
Yeah.
here we are. I mean, we're sitting here in the NCAA tournament, and we didn't win the league. I mean, we got a pretty good basketball team over there.
Yeah.
They've been ranked in the top 10, top 5 most of the year. Didn't win the regular season. Didn't win the tournament. Now we're in the NCAA tournament, and it's a long shot, because of so many teams that are in there.
Yeah.
But they got a shot of winning the national championship. But if they don't do that, it's going to be back to that Steve Spurrier deal. You remember Steve? He'd go, played a lot of football games, made a lot of good passing. We made some big runs out there, made some good didn't win anything.
They're in a
You
good,
know, that's what Spurrier used
they're
to
in a
say. It's all about. That's what I always tell people. It's all about winning championships. It's about, you know, you can win the fans' hearts all you want, but it's about winning championships.
They're in a good bracket. I mean, they got. But as far as Florida, I mean, did you watch them yesterday? That Clayton guy, I mean, he was unreal the way he's shooting.
You know, like I said, the difference with Florida right now is most teams are, you know, they play with solidly with 7, 8 players.
Yeah.
All right, but Florida, I mean, you're talking about 10, 11, 12 players that are kind of in the rotation that are solid. So when you replace that first line group, you know, you come back with that second group.
Yeah,
I mean, they're pretty strong as well.
Their big guys are tough. I mean, but we got UCLA that like we got another Edie to deal with.
Yeah.
7-3. Yeah. He's not quite as good as Edie, but he's going to be.
But Marcus, what we're looking at here, you know, you got a tradition-rich program in UCLA. You know that they've got tonight.
They go after big people, don't they? I know it's their ladies team. They've got 2 big ladies.
You know, they're well coached, and of course they've had to travel a long way. You know, coast to come all the way to Lexington there to play.
Yeah.
But if Tennessee gets by UCLA, Kentucky gets by Illinois, then Tennessee's looking at Kentucky again. And you think, well, you haven't won a regular season, you haven't won a tournament, and here you are in the NCAA. God forbid you don't want to lose to Tennessee or to Kentucky again 3 times in 1 year.
No, that'd be bad.
I mean, that would take the whole year and just pretty much make a downer, wouldn't it, Marcus? If it got to that,
it would. And you know, Tennessee is not the only team facing that kind of situation potentially, because you know, going into the first tip-off's not for another hour or two, but you've got 32 teams left. 16 of those 32 are from the SEC or the Big Ten. So you're going to end up with either SEC versus Big Ten or SEC versus SEC type situations where you're going to let the conferences kind of decide between each other who's the better conference this year. And by the Sweet 16, we're going to have conference rematches. No matter what happens, we're going to have a couple. Yeah. And that's not ideal for anybody. Yeah. I mean, well, you may have already seen that game 3 times in some of these cases.
Yeah. Going back to, and I don't want to dwell on this, on how hard it is to win championships. I don't think a lot of people around here, because of the way, you know, you get into the tournament, you don't have to win championships are really hard to win. Regular season championship, tournament championships, NCAA, NIT, they're hard to win. And these fans over here, we're filling this arena, and as Tony said, everybody's up and everybody's feeling good about everything. Let's look at the big picture. SEC regular season championships over here at Tennessee, they've played 113 regular seasons in the SEC in basketball. 113 championships. Tennessee has 12. 12. That means, now you've seen a lot of good players come through the pike over here, but only 12 teams. And one of those 12 teams, one of them that I played on, didn't even make the NCAA tournament. So that means 11 of them, you know, got into the tournament. We didn't even get in, and we're one of the 12. Wow. 12 out of 113. The SEC tournament, they've played 65 SEC tournaments because they did away with it, you know, back in the, 50s or whatever, and then they brought it back. There's been 65 of them, and Tennessee's won 5. 5.
Wow.
There you go. There you go.
Not very
so
good
you see a lot of good players come down the pikes, but not very many of them are wearing those championship rings.
But but the thing, unless it's changed in the last few years, even with those, Tennessee's still number 2 in the conference for titles.
Yeah. Well, Kentucky is
Kentucky
the majority owner of
one,
all of those because you had the 8 off-rup years and so forth.
I bet
and
they've
so
got
on.
a bunch.
But you had a combined. You've got a combined tournament, regular season, SEC regular season, SEC tournament. If you combine those two, 178. Tennessee's won 17. 17 out of 178 championships. You don't think those things are rare and mean a lot? Yeah. They can talk all they want to talk about deep runs in tournaments. Those guys are talking about that because they didn't win a championship because they didn't give out many of those. They don't give out many of them. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens in the NCAA tournament with this Tennessee team. And last year they got real close to the Final Four. And if they'd have called Edie for 3 seconds in there a few times, we might have pulled that out.
What's a
But,
3
you know,
second?
he just camped in there. He was a camper,
They don't
wasn't
ever-
he?
I'd
you
have been
seen-
happy if they'd called it for 3 minutes.
Have you seen that called any this year again?
A
3
couple
sec-
times.
I've not seen
A couple
it called.
times, but not in the SEC.
Yeah. And, you know, they've already voted for, you know, all conference players. And sometimes I think, well, you know, maybe you ought to play that out. You know, and you got Bruce Pearl, you know, he got the coach of the year. But now you're looking at, well, you know, maybe Todd Golden, you know, maybe should, you know,
Yeah.
he won the tournament, and look at him. He's probably, I'd say right now more people are picking Florida than they are Auburn.
Oh yeah,
You know?
Yeah, I think so.
have a
Or
bad
what do you
feeling
do?
for
Or what do you
Auburn.
do if Calipari were to win, take Arkansas past St. John's today?
Yeah.
I mean, then you've got a case for Pitino to be
Yeah.
considered the coach of the year.
Yeah.
I still, you know, I still have a hard time grasping the fact that in the Big Ten, you got UCLA and USC in the Big Ten. I mean, it's just I mean,
It just seems like that dog, you know, USC, that dog just doesn't have the right color, does it? Something about it, huh? You know, and
they're
Maryland.
on the coast of California, and they're in the Big Ten, right? You know, there is no Pacific Ocean in the Big Ten. Last time I looked at it.
Yeah, and UCLA.
Yeah, you got
UCLA, you're sitting there. Well, they got you know, UCLA's in the Big Ten. They're still in the Den. You're going, you know, heck, they're in the Big Ten. I thought that's where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Lou Alcindor and all those John Wooden and all. It's hard to picture them as a Big Ten team now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, you're getting the snap. Here.
Yeah, I'm getting the snap over there.
Break the twigs, crack like
The Donnie Moore snap. Donnie Moore snap. Hey, we'll take a timeout here. When we return, Marcus Fitzsimmons will provide some high school news, and he'll come back again to talk about you know, some Heritage State Basketball Championship, and in his segment Marking Down. You're listening to the Goteez Sports Page, Blount County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
For over 90 years, Anderson Lumber Company in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. Locally owned, so the money made here stays here. Whether you're renovating a kitchen, bath, new floors, doors, or windows, Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store and can take care of you from design to install. We welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa for all your home's needs, or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net.
Back to the Goteez Sports Page, Marcus Fitzsimmons. I see you got the Heritage girls in here this morning, and they won a state basketball championship. We're thrilled to have them in here, and I don't see the trophy. Coach, have they stole the trophy already? It's been, a week,
Yeah.
and somebody's already got it?
I don't know. It's been everywhere. So I probably should have went out and got it, but I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, well, take a picture send it to us. Huh? Yeah.
Right.
Good to have you in here, and congratulations on
Thank you.
on
Thank
winning
you,
the state
Coach.
championship. What an endeavor. Yeah, Mark, it's all yours.
Didn't turn myself back on. There we go. I got to start off with scoreboard since I'm filling in for Donnie, and this is, we hope Donnie's feeling better. Coach, you can probably empathize with him. He's having a shoulder job done. He's in the shop.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
So
3 months out.
what's he looking forward to this week? He had it done on Tuesday. Is he feeling good yet, or is he still curling up in a ball?
He's still hurting, believe me.
Yeah, he's hitting that hydrocodone, isn't he?
Yeah, I would say so.
And that's why Donnie Moore will not be joining us this morning. He's listening quietly at home. Just to recap this past week in prep scores before we get into visiting with our state champs this morning. Start off with some of the spring sports. Baseball, Alcoa had a busy week. They've moved to 8-2. They beat Loudon earlier in the week 7-1 and swept a doubleheader with GP. Add those two together, they won 28-0. They swept the Highlanders pretty brutally. Eagleton opened their new ballpark, got the first game on that new field. Beautiful facility if you haven't been out there yet. Softball's going to be opening their side of it on Tuesday night with a grand opening over there, which all the dignitaries coming back out. But Eagleton boys baseball swept Austin East 19-2 on Monday, and then 23-1 in that season opener at home. First ever home game for the Royals. One that made people look twice, and I had people call in the paper to make sure we had this score right. But earlier in the week, William Blount beat Maryville 18-4, and I had to call and confirm with Scott Cup, and William Blount managed to put the ball in play about everywhere Maryville was not standing.
Scott Cup crawled out of his hole for that one, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what.
It's been rough down there on him.
Yeah,
Didn't hear much about him.
He was pretty excited, but even he was willing to say that they had some guidance on those balls because they were just going right past Maryville. But it was a good win for the Govs. And then Maryville came back the next day. They're now 6-4 on the year. They beat Sevier County 10-1, which was a good quality win for them. Softball side of the ledger, Fairfax's Lady Tornadoes are still running very strong. 15-0 over Oneida, 10-0 over Marion County, and then 7-2 over Boyd Buchanan last night.
You got a football championship at Alcoa. You got the boys playing for a championship today, and that girls softball. You mark it down; they're going to be back here probably competing for one in softball.
I would not bet against you this year. I think when we had them in here, we counted there were 5 starting pitcher potentials in that lineup. So strong start for them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I hope our guests are not going to cringe too much at this. They had triple threat last night over at Heritage. William Blount beat Heritage 6-5 over there, and then Central, who was the third team involved, beat William Blount 9-2. So William Blount dropped to 9-3 on the year, and then the nightcap Heritage beat Central 7-6, and the Lady Mountaineers are now 8-3 on the year. And then getting into basketball to recap what's gone on this week. Maryville boys are out after the first round loss to Hillsboro. Ran out a little time. We're making a good rally just couldn't finish that off after not the best start they wanted in the tournament. But Hillsboro will be playing Oak Ridge tonight for the Class 4A title. In Class 2A, Alcoa opened with a 65-55 win over Hickman. And I'm just going to I don't usually throw out leading scores, but I'm going to toss it out here because of the depth we've talked about when we've had the Tornadoes here. Condis Cherry had 22 and Jameer Dean had 21 in that opening win. In the semifinals yesterday, Alcoa beats Jackson County 59-38, and their big scorer is Jabril Coco with 21. If we go back to sectionals, you have an Eli Graff 20-point performance, so a lot of depth on that team as to who can take over at any point. They'll be facing Loretto, who is undefeated this year at 34-0 at 2:30 our time, 1:30 if you're over there in Murfreesboro for the game. And not long after we went off the air last week, if somebody has been in a hole in the ground and not caught on to the fact that this happened, this basketball team from Heritage that we've been talking about went on to beat Northview 63-43 for the Class 3A state championship. And what we made back in November, Coach, before you even you were still in the shop yourself at that point. I told a couple of your players that if they won the state championship, we'd love to have them come back. And lo and behold, they made me pay off on it. And I couldn't be happier about it. But I got to ask you, we haven't seen many photos online with you in the trophy, holding the trophy up. And I was wondering if that might still be from the shoulder surgery. You still?
No, I just forgot to do it. I wanted the girls to enjoy it and everybody else. And I actually had to go get an individual picture with it the other day. I was like, there's no pictures of me holding that trophy. But hey, it's all about them. It's what I had dreamed all season for them.
Well, you brought, we'll call it your starting three that you brought with it. We're going to platoon in some of the players this morning, and we're happy to do that. But introduce who, in case somebody has been under that rock, tell us who they are.
Carson Swaney, Chloe Heath, and Aaliyah Smith.
And people might know some of those names at this point, we would hope.
They should. They're outstanding young ladies and just great basketball players, and they made us all very proud.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to pick on them some. But this stat kind of popped out to me when I was going back over the state tournament. The first game was that 60-36 win over Portland. It's kind of close. It got a little bit of a lead. Second quarter, you all pull away with 17-8 second quarter. We go into the semifinals in that slugging match with South Gibson. Y'all are trailing. It's only 8-6, but you're trailing. You go into second quarter, 17-5 run, and take control of that game for the most part. State championship game with Northview, again, 21-9 run in the second quarter. Is there something about the second quarter that gets this team going?
We've started sluggish, but I really believe it's just seeing that first basket go through, and then they just moved the ball so well, and we've done that most all year, and it's easy for this team right here. These young ladies were sitting here to score 20 in a quarter with no problem, But in the championship in the third quarter, we only scored 2. And that's why we work on defense every day.
And defense pays off.
Yeah, just ask them.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm heading right to that, because we have the MVP sitting here. So I'm just going to ask, was there points in this state tournament where you were like, you know what, Coach is kind of right about this defense thing?
Yeah, well, he always preaches it all the time, and it's very important for us. We spend 30 minutes on it about every single practice, every single day. So it was very important for us because it won a couple of ball games for us throughout the year.
And everybody has talked about this, the fact that you all were able to win the championship game with the situation with Carson not being able to start and being able to play for just a minute there. But I just got to wonder how this team feels like if there was a team that could overcome that or take that kind of situation, that this was a team that could do it. Like, you all seem to have that kind of connections. Is that something that started preseason, or is this something that started a season ago? When did this team kind of come together?
Probably last year. We have pretty much the same exact team except without Jay, but she was gone for most of the season last year through her hand injury that she had. So it just felt like we've been playing together for the past 2 years, and we're just so strong on and off the court, and we're all really super close. So I think that's important for us too, to help our team chemistry. And
I'll let all of you take a shot at this, but that buzzer finally goes off. What was that feeling like to be able to run onto the court?
It was unimaginable. I mean, it felt like a dream come true. It was just really exciting, and I don't know, just so many emotions were going through my head at that time. So.
Oh yeah, what was that like for you?
Like she said, a dream come true. It was great. Yeah.
Do you look at the trophy, or are you just looking in the crowd, or are you just running on the court to get there?
I was going to celebrate with my team.
And Carson, you were handicapped in that situation. What was that like for you? Did you have to get help to get out there, or were you able to get out there and get to that trophy quickly?
I mean, I was limping out there, but it felt like cloud nine going over there to my team.
And I think if there was so much that went down for you to get ahead of Northview and take the lead, but I think the shot everybody's going to remember is your three, just because of the situation, and possibly because the paper got a great capture of it. But what was it like to be able to step on there and actually knock that one down?
I mean, whenever I got hurt, I was really heartbroken. So just going out there, my team, they did their business, and they were up by 10, so I was able to get in. And just going out there and making that shot was amazing.
And what was this tournament like for you? Because for your future plans, that place is going to be home pretty soon. What was it like playing there? I mean, was it kind of like looking around a little bit and thinking a little bit ahead of, like, what's this going to be like in a year from now?
I mean, there's a lot of fans there, but I think there's a lot more at the Middle Tennessee games. So, I mean, I just got to get used to all the fans, the hollering and everything, and just getting a feel on that court was pretty good.
Now, did they let you all use the college locker rooms, or using the guest ones?
Just like the guest. It's
okay.
Not theirs.
But you get a feel for that facility after a couple of days, because if you're only there for just a little bit, the back of that arena can be fairly confusing. Yeah, that's a good word for it. But once you get used to it, it kind of flows. And you all got a chance to do that this year, Coach. I think that's got to feel a little bit better from what happened last year.
Well, yeah, we went down there this past summer too and played 2 games on the main floor. We just kind of figured that would be good because we thought we'd be down there again, So I took them down there and we got some games there, and I think they got used to the arena then, and it was. They handled it really well. Last year they were a little intimidated, I believe, but this year they just acted like, hey, we've been here. Let's go do it.
So that leads to that great question. Is this the payoff? Was it because I remember when you all were here before, you didn't want to just come out and say we've got to win for this season to be a success, but you said there was unfinished business. Does it feel like business is done now?
Yes.
At what point do you close the briefcase on it? Was it lifting the trophy, or was it the ride back to the school?
Probably the ride back to the school. We just celebrated the whole way back, and it was amazing.
Now, if you haven't seen the videos, there are several out there on social media of the bus coming back and the police escort and pulling into the school parking lot. What was that a bigger celebration than it was on the court, or is it kind of equal?
It was just different. Like, we actually had the ball in our hands, and it just happened. So it was more like immediate emotion when we were on the court. But they were all very super fun and I don't know, amazing.
Y'all stayed all night, right?
Yeah.
Come back. Well, how'd you celebrate up there since you didn't come back? Most teams come back, after the ball game's over, and up in Indiana they have a big bonfire and everybody shows up. And did you guys have? I guess you didn't have a bonfire down there.
I think the hotel would have frowned on that, Mike.
Yeah, they did have a fire pit out back.
All right.
We did not use it though.
We didn't use it.
We went to eat at Chili's, and he told us we can get whatever we want.
There you go.
I can't imagine what the bill was, but
Yeah.
it was good.
Yeah.
They took advantage of it too, believe me.
Yeah, but then we stayed up until 3 o'clock in the morning. Some of us did.
Yeah.
So.
I told him, I said, just don't be out in the hallway slamming the doors.
Right.
We taped them in at 12.
Well, Coach, what was this experience like for you? Because this has just been an unusual season. If you had to think about everything that's happened, and I used the phrase, it started with you in a sling and ended with Carson in a boot, and you got to raise a trophy in between. You had a gap where you were not able to be on the side court every night, and then you're in district play, and it just seems like a little bit of a segmented season in some ways.
Well, I mean, it was just a different, here, at the first of the season. I mean, it started in the summer, and that's why I really believe she hurt her ankle in the summer. Carson did, and then my Fab 3 sophomores over there stepped up, and we beat some pretty good teams. I mean, in the summer down at Murfreesboro Center. And so when she went down, I'm like, oh, my God, I just ain't living right. We got a chance to win this, and Carson goes down. But, I didn't doubt them at all. And just like you said, the regular season, we had a couple hiccups against Sevier County, but we beat them too. But, every game was a close – when we had a close game, they found a way to win. I mean, it's just like, okay, it's time to step up and let's get this thing done. Lenore City, we were better than them, 20, 30 points better than them, and they sent us in overtime twice, But they found a way. They just came over and let's go. We're going to win this. Let's go, And, I was down with that shoulder, and Coach Kirsten came in and did a great job at Sevier County. And, but I really think we relied on the senior leadership. We had some other seniors, too, that really helped us a lot. They're not here today, but, I'm proud of what they did. Some of them didn't get to play a lot, but they were just great teammates, and they never were jealous of the sophomores or Leah getting to play in front of them. So that's part of this whole team. They just a sisterhood. They were so close. It's the best team I've had at Heritage, top to bottom. I've had some good teams with some other stars, but top to bottom, this bunch just gelled so well. And, they just made an old man, an old coach dream come true, so
Coach,
I'm going to love them for life.
Did you ever think about, Heritage girls basketball had a great program, through the years.
Yes.
Yogi had great teams when he was there, and you were part of that.
Mm-hmm.
You've had great teams when you were there, and the tradition is built up. When you won this state championship, did you think about some of those other teams that really set the standard going up to where you got to this particular point, and all those players that were part of that?
And all those players reached out to me, and I just said, this is for all of us.
Yeah.
This is for all the Lady Mountaineers that's come through the program, and these girls finally reached the top, and they did it for everybody. I mean, just not for themselves, but they did it for the community, their families. I couldn't ask. When they came in as freshmen, I just had a feeling, by the time they were juniors or seniors, we was going to have a really good shot if everybody stayed healthy. But even with the injury here and there, I just think somebody stepped up on this team. Just like when Kinley went out with that broken hand, we had Emma Coswell, those young girls, and Olivia, they came in and played great. And, of course, Carson and Chloe and Aaliyah, they stepped up. And then Katie and Faith, it was just a wonderful season. I mean, they put up with me, and they just brought something home to me that I'll never forget.
Well, I'm going to ask him I'm going to steal Mike's question here that he usually asks players. But when you go from playing in the Yogi or some of the high school gyms and you play in that arena, and the depth behind the basket goes from 10 feet to 1,000 yards back there to the concourse, does that change the view of when you're shooting? Does it change the way you look at the a long three?
I mean, yeah, we were shooting from college threes, and he was telling us to scoot in, but we just weren't really, paying attention to where we were. But, I mean, most of them were still going in, so.
Yeah, we practiced at Tennessee Tech on the way up there, which I think also helped. And us playing at MTSU this past summer also did help us, too.
Did Coach take his tape measure when you got up there and measured the goal? Like Coach Dale in Hoosiers. Did you do that deal?
I started to show him that movie.
You should have done that.
I started to show him that movie.
Yeah, you got to see that movie, Hoosiers.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Yeah.
And since I've got the seniors in this group, and we're going to sub in here in a minute, but I just want to ask, the first game, going the quarterfinal, after what happened last year, and I'm looking back at the box score, and Carson has 22, Chloe, you have 21. Was there a thing in your mind that we are not going to lose this game no matter what? Was that what kind of the mentality?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that something you all talked about before that tip, that this was where we stumbled last year? Did that come up?
I mean, we had a pretty good feel on who we were playing because we played this same team summer of our sophomore year, I'm pretty sure. Almost the same exact team. So we just went out there and we had to know we had to take care of business. So we just played our game and everything. I mean, it was a lot of pressure on us because we lost last year in the quarterfinal. But just coming out there and just taking care of business in the first quarter and then putting the foot on them and stomping it and not letting them come back was good.
And then from the players' perspective, and Lee, I'm going to pick on you on this one. That semifinal game, you all are going in the fourth quarter and you've got 20 points and you've got a lead. Was it just kind of a surreal game scoring-wise that every basket was so important?
Yeah, we just knew what we had to do to get the gold ball.
And how much of a battle was that game? Because we can only look at it, and we could see the score and we can see the action. But how tough of a game was that to play in?
It was a defensive clinic for both teams.
That's semi, yes. Wasn't a shooting clinic, that's for sure. We both shot 25%.
Which is testament to that defense you were talking about?
Yep.
Or was it just that kind of a matchup where you all had a lot of things that were kind of on par?
Yeah, I mean, they were very physical and we're physical, and you know, our shots, we missed a lot of layups. I'll say that, and my assistant coaches are the layup coaches, so you know that was their fault. But they fought through it. I mean, it was a battle. I mean, they were big and strong, and you know, our girls didn't back down, and you know, and that's what I always tell them. You know, I know they get tired of doing defensive drills, doing the same repetitions. I said, but you can play hard defense and rebound every game, but you can't make shots every game. I said, some game's going to come that you're not hitting. And that was the one, and we fought through it. You know, just like the Lenoir City Regional Championship, we shot 22% and still won. You know, so you know, I'll always hang my hat on defense.
Girls, do you think it's almost unbelievable that it took a state championship to calm him down? That's what I want to know. Huh?
Yeah.
They're giving that look like they're not sure that he might not have another practice.
Yeah. Well, she's going to she can go ahead and respond. She's going to college next year.
Yeah, it's going to be like that there too. Maybe harder.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
I think I got her ready to go there.
Yeah.
Both of them going to be ready to go.
I'll tell you, that's exactly right.
So,
exactly.
Coach, y'all are having to figure some things out for the first time because this is the first team championship at Heritage. So, do they get to cut line to get in front of lunch line, or get to class early, or do they get some free tardy slips?
Well, they gave them a day off, you know, so that was a thing there. They were excited about that. But we're going to do some things. We're going to do a little walk through all the elementary schools and the middle school, and you know, we're going to get honored at the board meeting. And of course, Tom Hatcher wants us to come to Nashville, but we're not going to do that. We'll just maybe do that up here at the courthouse. But we're going to ride it as long as we can.
Yeah.
I mean, they deserve that. They're just this whole bunch. They're just such wonderful young ladies that, you know, it's just been an honor to coach them. And I got to say this: they have settled me down a little bit.
I find that
just
hard
a little
to believe.
bit.
I can tell you're so relaxed. You know, kick back and.
Yeah, every now and then I'd get a little upset, but you know, I have like my older girls, when they come to the games, they go, "They don't understand. You've mellowed so much."
So, and I'm going to close off with this one before we go into a break. But I know that you all have spent so much time in that gym. You've seen the big pictures on the wall. Has it sunk in yet that one day is it going to be the picture on the wall that players are looking at, wanting to be you guys?
Yeah, well, we already have one up there, so now we get another one, so it's really special.
Yeah.
But now you're going to be the one you're the only one up there that's going to have a state championship at the bottom of it. So that's going to be the new measuring stick. You all are going to be the one that some of the girls you might see in elementary schools are going to come in and be like, I want to be like her. Is that kind of a weird feeling?
Very weird.
you'll find as time goes on that those trophies and those awards and everything that you thought was so important, they'll end up in garage sales, and closets,
No,
and attics,
not
and
these.
Tupperware. But I'll tell you what'll last is those memories. I'll tell you, they'll last you a lifetime. You'll be sitting there. I can sit here at 74 years old, and I can think of a play that happened in the state tournament when I was playing in high school, buddy, that would have changed that game.
Yeah.
It's an amazing feeling. And, only sports gives that to you, Coach.
That's exactly right. You
and
don't ever forget that. And
exactly.
the bonding you have with your teammates.
Yeah.
You'll be friends for life.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, we're going to do a platoon change and go into a commercial break
All
here.
right.
So
Got a whole new group coming in, huh?
stay tuned, and we'll be right back with some more Lady Mountaineers.
All right.
And you're listening to the sports page.
All right.
Send me a picture of your dress.
For over 90 years, Anderson Lumber Company in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. Locally owned, so the money made here stays here. Whether you're renovating a kitchen, bath, new floors, doors, or windows, Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store and can take care of you from design to install. We welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa for all your home's needs, or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards along with the rest of our broadcast crew. And now it's time for the Goteez Sports Page Player of the Week segment featuring Daily Times senior reporter Marcus Fitzsimmons, sponsored by Anderson Lumber Company, where quality service is always a priority, proudly serving Blount County for over 100 years. Marcus, I'm going to turn it back over to you. We've got some more Heritage basketball. Huh?
We're watching the video, and it just faded away, and the players just magically changed.
Yeah.
we had a line change, Coach, and that was very well executed by the players. It looks like they may have had some experience doing
Teamwork.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
Yeah. They're still working together.
What is it? Teamwork?
Makes the dream work.
that. Wow, they say it in chorus.
Yeah, that's our saying.
There you go.
Well, since we had a line change, go ahead and introduce the trio we have up here now.
You got Faith Moores, Kenley Coker, and Katie Graves.
And are these the dynamic sophomores you were mentioning?
Yeah, the Fab Three. That's my new nickname for them.
Yeah.
The Fab Three.
Yeah.
We got to work on that. we definitely got to work on the branding on that one. Especially now that Maryland's got the Crab Five.
Yeah.
So we can. There's room for us to work on that one. But I kind of want to follow up with where we were. But I think one of the iconic moments we talked about, Carson coming back to hit that three at the end of the championship game. But the other big moment is going to be the fourth quarter of the semifinal where she went down. And Coach, I wanted to ask you, because we were talking about it last week, and we were coming up short. There's not a guide in the coach's handbook for losing a senior star with 5 quarters left in the season.
No, you never want to see anything like that. But unfortunately, it's happened to me before with Kate McMahon. And, I had a couple really good teams when Katie Brooks and Carly Stash both had the flu, in a big game that we lost. But they tried to play through it, but it just wasn't meant to be. And I was just talking to Coach, you got to be lucky. You got to have a little luck. But when Carson went down, I was just like, Lord, I just ain't living right. What have I done wrong? But, and then in the back of my mind, as soon as you get into coaching mode, you're like, we've done it before. These sophomores will step up. I got kids on the bench that's going to step up. I mean, we'll fight for this. We're not just going to bow out because, our star went down, and I think these three right here, they came up, talked to me. They said, Coach, we're going to win this thing for you and Carson, and before the game, Northview was down there kind of, clowning around a little bit. And I looked at Kenley Coker and I said, Kenley, why aren't you guys doing that? And she looked me dead in the eye. She says, Coach, because we're locked in and we're going to win this thing. And I was like, that's my girl right
I'm
there.
glad they're not that locked in today, or Mike and I would probably be in trouble. They might leave us bruised and damaged. But I'm glad you all came in this morning because usually we pick on the seniors a lot, so I always enjoy it when we get to work on some sophomores and get you all ready for the future of being on the show. But what was that moment like what was your reaction at that moment when you see Carson is not popping back up like she usually does? Was it disheartening? What was the initial thought of why isn't she getting up?
I mean, I was devastated for her, and I knew that she'd worked hard all year, and I knew that it was all for her, but I knew that I had to step up as a player, and then I knew they and the rest of the team just had to step up, and we just had to go win it.
Were you all three on the floor when it happened, or was somebody on the bench when it happened?
I was on the bench when she went down, so I knew that I was going to be the one going in, and I would have to take on her role and handle the ball and score because that's what she did for us.
Yeah, no pressure there. I mean, you don't have to worry about a thing, right? You just go on the court and say, hey, I'm just walking in for the senior who's been leading us today.
Well, one thing about Kenley, that game, she had a soft cast on her hand from where she broke her hand and got a plate in it. Well, handling the ball was kind of hard, like when she go through her legs and she couldn't feel it. So she went up to her dad that night after the game we won and said, I'm not playing with this on. And, of course, he agreed, and thank God he did because she come out in that championship and handled it like a champ. There's no doubt.
And I'm not going to put you on the spot too badly here to embarrass Coach, but I just had this thought that when we talked right after the Jamboree, and Coach had just had surgery, and you all were working with the assistants, and it felt like this team kind of came together in a way, like everybody was doing their part since Coach wasn't there. And I just wondered if that kind of paid off a little bit when you got to Murfreesboro, that this team is just so close and feels like it can do just about anything no matter what happens. Is that kind of true, or am I just grasping at straws here trying to make a story?
Yeah, our team chemistry is really, really good, and like on and off the court. So I think when he did have a surgery and our assistant coaches had to step in, I think we just all rallied together and just stepped it up and just kept going.
Going in, the motivation was to win the state championship, but then you had the injury. You actually then got extra motivation, did you not? I mean,
yeah.
Tell us a little bit how that worked to your real advantage.
Yeah, well, the play before I got hit in the leg, and then I went back down and I got busted in the nose. So, and I had to come out for a little bit, but I just told myself when the trainers were checking on, I was like, I'm not staying out of this game. I'm going back in, and we're winning this thing. So it just motivated me even more to go back in.
Yeah.
And we talked with the seniors about how tough the semifinal game was as a physical game, and they've played 4 years. They've had their experiences with some very tough teams over that time. What you all are in your second season, it's maybe not as much experience with it. How did it come across with how physical that game was? Was it a challenge?
I think it was a challenge. I mean, all the seniors, they've had a lot more opportunities in these big games, but last year we were also really successful, so Coach Howard let us play in those big-time games, and I think it got us more ready for this year because we had to step up since Carson was going down, but it was definitely one of the more physical games we've had. But I mean, we trained just for those games, and we were able to pull it out.
And Katie played the game of her career. She ended up leading us in scoring, I think, with 17 points. And, man, just it was amazing. All three of these girls, I think, I might be wrong on this, but I think they all had career highs in that state championship game.
And
double figures, I know.
Coach, I think you're right. And it was one of the things I mentioned this earlier, and you kind of got a little bit of twinkle when I was talking about Alcoa boys in the depth. But you have that same thing. You had a lineup that, depending on what happened, you could have any of 6 players lead you in scoring.
Oh, yeah. I mean, any given night, that could happen, you know. And we had some other complimentary players, too, that, you know, seniors that came in and just busted their butts and got rebound. I mean, they played their role. They knew that some of them knew they didn't have to score. And during the season, these 3, I think, kind of set back because we had Chloe and Carson averaging 20-some a game. And, you know, when they realized, hey, we got to make up for 20-some points, and, man, they did. I couldn't have asked for a better showing from any of them. But they have been focused, and I really believe that freshman year getting all that playing time and Jay getting hurt and they stepped in for her too really pushed us over the top. I really believe that.
And, you know, one thing, I don't know if it's set in for them, but, you know, we've talked with Carson and we've talked with Chloe over the years, and the one thing they have from this state championship that you guys don't is they're not going to wear a giant target on their back next year. Have you guys realized that?
Yes, we're gonna be back in Murfreesboro next year. We've already been talking about it, and we're gonna be back next year.
Coach, it's going to take a whole nother shirt because the unfinished business isn't going to carry for this one.
No, we'll come up with something. You know, we'll figure it out. But I know they're going to fight hard, and just like we talked about earlier, with a little bit of luck, we could get back down there maybe and make some noise.
Yeah, well, them being sophomores, you know, they got a lot of playing ahead of them. You know,
Yep.
they can go down there and win it again and again. You see, and they can really.
Yeah, don't set
listen,
that bar high, Mike. Let's set it real high.
You got one state champ now. When you go back down there again, you know what it's all like. You know what it's like down there now. You know, and the next you get down there the next couple of years, you can set some records that may be real difficult for teams on down the road to meet. 3 in a row, that'd be tougher. 2 in a row, or
that's
whatever.
what I told the seniors. I said the only class that can beat your class would be this class.
Yeah, and they're going to work at it. I'm going to tell you right now.
They can set all the records on those wins.
Yeah,
you know, that type thing. But you know, it'll be fun if we stay healthy and get, you know, hopefully develop some other players so we'll have a little bit of bench. We might make another run. That's what we're going to shoot for, right, girls?
Mm-hmm.
Now the plus side is they're going to head on to college. You all at least get the state championship patch on the letter jacket to wear around for 2 more years. So remember, you do get that bonus. I did ask them this question, and they can look at it from the perspective of not playing anymore, but it's going to be a little bit different for you guys because you're going to be playing, and there's going to be a giant picture of you on the wall in front of you in that gym, smiling and holding a state championship trophy. No pressure there for that to be sitting there looking at you every day, right?
Motivation, right?
Yeah, motivation.
Coach, has Heritage ever won? Has the school ever won a team state championship?
No.
This is the first one.
This is the first one.
Okay, well, I'll make a suggestion. We need one of those big team pictures, you know, to put up there with state championship on there. I mean,
we're going to do
I think
that.
they're going to have to move some around to
that-
make room for this
I mean,
one.
that's a special thing right there.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
sometimes that's better than a trophy. Is just that big picture that'll be there forever.
Yep, no doubt.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you need some help with banners, we have some friends over at Fast Signs that might be willing to step in and give you all a little bit of help. But when does next year start, Coach? How long do they get to enjoy this before next season starts?
We start Monday.
Oh, boy.
Weightlifting Monday.
Oh, boy. Well,
And now basketball, they'll do that on their AAU, but we'll start lifting and getting ready Monday.
Yeah. Are you all on the same AAU team?
No.
You're on separate.
Them two
ones?
are. They're on the same.
You're on two.
And Coach, I think if the sports page was allowed to make the prediction of what we wanted to happen come this time, about this time next year, we would see two schools out of Blount County playing in different sectionals from the same district.
Yeah, that could happen.
And we would love to see that happen because the district is going to change a little bit next year. But from the perspective of Heritage, you've been playing in districts with rivals since day one.
Yes.
So the fact that it's just changing faces probably isn't as big a deal for Heritage because Alcoa's been the outsider as far as district in-county rivalries.
Yeah, we've never really had a rival with them, so it's not. It'll be something new. We'll attack it like we do everything else.
All right, and Coach, how many trips is that trophy still going to make? I assume it's got a busy schedule, and you all still have a lot of appearances to make where people can come out and clap and get some autographs.
Oh yeah, it's going to travel a little bit. There's no doubt about it. We the lady in the office, Miss Tucker, and them said we got to keep cleaning it because it gets smeared every time we take it.
At least it's not like the Stanley Cup, and you have to worry about who's drinking out of it.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. That's true, no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, I have the feeling we're going to see these three again over the next two seasons.
Yeah.
And I will say the same thing. We will have you back. We're happy to have Heritage here, but we really like it when we can do this kind of format, and maybe next time Coach can bring a trophy if we do this again. So no pressure there, but just saying. And congratulations on this. Enjoy it. Coach, we wish you the best, and thank you for coming in this morning because we love having you back on here.
I appreciate you guys, everything you do for Blount County.
Yeah, thank you.
Mike, we'll go ahead and
Okey-doke.
Unfortunately, I turned the page because I wish we could do this for another 30 minutes.
Yeah, been good. Hey, time for a break. When we return, it's the Boyd Sports Spotlight. We'll talk some national sports headlines and then follow up with some more NCAA basketball tournament news. You're listening to the Goteez Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, B.F. Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net. For over 90 years, Anderson Lumber Company in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. Locally owned, so the money made here stays here. Whether you're renovating a kitchen, bath, new floors, doors, or windows, Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store and can take care of you from design to install. We welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa for all your home's needs, or shop over 67,000 items online at andersonlumbercompany.com. Anderson Lumber since 1925.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for the Boyd Sports Spotlight segment. And I'm here with veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons, and I'm also here with Tony Ierulli, Carson Newman assistant football coach, and former Alcoa basketball standout Dwayne Easter. And, of course, Donnie's out, so I'm going to take over a little bit this morning.
All right, here we go.
So I don't know. We'll give it a shot here. Got some coaches that are moving on to different schools. McNeese State head basketball coach Will Wade has taken the North Carolina State job. McNeese State upset Clemson 69-67 in the NCAA tournament this past Thursday. It's the first NCAA win for McNeese State in school history. And I'm just wondering how many McNeese State players he's going to take with him to Clemson now, because they're playing Purdue, and they got a good shot at Purdue coming up.
Well, I tell you what, they really made Clemson look bad. I mean, they just really dominated him. It was kind of surprising that the news came out, before the game, and because sometimes the players may not respond very well, but evidently he's told them they're all coming with him. And so,
I think he just set them down and said, "Here's my agenda. Now let's look at your agenda."
There you go.
And it's all worked out. Worked out.
They all good.
Yep. Indiana University has hired former West Virginia basketball coach Darian DeFries. In his first season with the Mountaineers, his team went 19-13, and prior to West Virginia, DeFries went 150-55 in 6 seasons at Drake. And he left a pretty good squad at Drake, obviously, because, they're in the NCAA tournament, and they had a good upset win, I believe, there the other day. So, anyway, we'll see how that plays out up at Indiana. Their football coach hire was a good one. They made the college football playoffs last year in his first year.
Sure.
So we'll see how that goes. Former Lady Vol basketball coach Kelly Harper has been hired to take over the helm at Missouri. She had 4 straight NCAA appearances with the Lady Vols and posted a 108-52 record at Tennessee. She previously coached at Western Carolina, North Carolina State, and Missouri State. So
I'm happy for her. That's a great move, especially obviously since she was out of it this past season, and be able to go to another major college school and in the SEC. I mean, that's congratulations to her.
You just hope that for her own career, that she can take the steps to put Tennessee in the rearview mirror for her coaching career.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, she was 108-52 here, and she went to the tournament 4 years in a row. At most schools, that would be a pretty good going,
and
but
if she can
not
do that,
good enough here, right, Dwayne?
If she can do that at Missouri, she'll be appreciated and loved.
Exactly.
Where what she did here was never good enough.
Yeah.
High standards here at Tennessee.
Yeah,
obviously.
extremely
She's
high.
thinking she'll have some different assistants. I mean, that she's going to take with her. I mean, too.
I didn't hear anything about assistant coaches. So a lot of these decisions are being made because of the portal, opening up there on Monday, and everybody's trying to get everybody in place.
And she is an adept coach with the portal. I think her weakness was in recruiting out of high school, and I think that may have been a matter of staff composition. So it will be interesting to see who she puts on this staff.
Coach Ierulli, that's got to be hard on coaches, to be playing in tournaments right now and so forth, and the portal will open up on Monday. And some of those coaches are going, man, I've got guys out here playing that's probably going to be going in that portal.
Yeah. That's why I was looking the other night, during a basketball game, and you see all the assistant coaches. Well, basketball team's got like 10 assistant coaches. I mean, there's usually about 4 or 5 that sits in the front row. Then there's about 4 or 5 more that sits in the back row. And so, a lot of it is due to the fact that you got coaches on your staff that all they do is recruit.
I've tried to explain that to people for years, Coach Ierulli. You got to have all those people because you play so many games. You play 30, 35, 40 games. You play 3 times as many games as a football coach. You ought to be paid 3 times more money than the football coaches are paid because you're playing 3. You got 3 seasons wrapped into one football season, huh?
You can tell he's a basketball guy because I've just ignored everything. I've just ignored everything he just said.
Well, I was going to say though, but your games are 3 hours or like 2 hours shorter than football. So
I always have the football coach come back and say, "Yeah, but our games mean a lot more because we only got 10 of them."
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, let's talk about Bill Chisholm, a managing partner at Symphony Technology Group. They've agreed to purchase the Boston Celtics for $6.1 billion, and that would surpass the $6.05 billion paid for the Washington Commanders in 2023.
Wow.
So I don't know. Brian Johnson was second, I think, wasn't he, on that bid for the Celtics?
I'm sure he was somewhere. But You know,
billion.
Not only are the prices are going, not only because we have changes in what a dollar is worth, but with the TV rights that are getting involved, I think that's why you see the prices going up because, I mean, that last NBA television deal was worth, what, $100 billion that was going to be divided over 5 years? I mean, there's a value that's going out to these franchises that make them worth that. But even though you are purchasing the group for $6 billion, that means you own it, but you've also got to pay the salaries of those players that are on your roster.
Yeah.
So you might owe another $1 billion in salaries the way they pay some of these guys.
Exactly.
So is it a group of investors or just one guy?
I think it's a group.
It's an investment group led by him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, the Department of Defense has restored a story on its website highlighting Jackie Robinson's military service this past Wednesday after deleting it as part of President Donald Trump's efforts to purge references to diversity, equity, and inclusion through a digital content refresh. No comment from the Department of Defense as to whether the removal of Robinson's story was deliberate or mistaken, according to ESPN. Good thing they got that back on there, Tony, because 42 days coming up. 42 days. You don't want to leave him off the computer, buddy.
They said something happened, and anything that was associated with DEI or whatever, got it. But they said, "Oops." Yeah. They said, "Oops, we need to get this one back on." There was about 5 or 6 other stories as well. That was
there were a lot of things, and I think the mistake, if you're a programming type person, was that at the point that they went through saying that all of this now fits under a new category, well, everything that was pre-existing that might fit in that got tagged with that. So when you hit the delete button on that, you wipe out everything with that tag, regardless of whether it needed to be there before or not.
Right.
So, you had the Code Talkers got erased. You had the entire part of the Confederate cemetery erased off of Arlington.
Airmen.
The airmen. You had all sorts of things that did not fit that definition that got erased.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you just deal with the technology and all that stuff. I mean, there's no human that's overseeing that. Then all of a sudden, someone goes, "Oops! That's a mistake. We need to change this one back real fast." So I'm glad. Obviously, we're glad we got restored.
Get it corrected.
Yeah. And I want to announce that George Foreman passed away.
Yeah, I hate to see that.
That hit. I think I saw it this morning.
Yeah.
Sad news there for boxing.
Just a legend. Interesting note: he had 11 kids. 5 were boys. All 5 were named George Foreman.
Really? Is that right? All of them were named the same?
Yeah.
All of them were named George.
Let's not forget.
That's easy to remember.
He had a very productive life.
He had the grill, too.
But he had the grill.
I was going to say, now those are actually collector's items.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about some things that happened in sports history. Donnie likes to do that, so I've got some things together here. 1958, Kentucky beat Seattle 84-72 to win the NCAA basketball championship. Seattle had a pretty good player, Elgin Baylor. Elgin Baylor played for
Is Seattle a different name now? Or
I think it's still the University of Seattle, isn't it? I think so. Yeah. 1969, that would be my senior year in high school. Woo! UCLA beat Purdue 92-72 to win the NCAA basketball championship, and that was a three-peat for UCLA at the time. And I was a senior, and a week after that happened, I went to Purdue on my visit down there, and they had a cookout for the basketball team, and I was there and got to take part in that a little bit. But they had a great outside shooter. Purdue did Rick Mount. That was Rick Mount's senior year, and had a great point guard, Billy Keller, and outstanding team. But gosh,
UCLA had.
They were loaded.
Yeah, that was still the Lou Alcindor.
Yeah, and Lou Alcindor or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar later on. He was the MVP of the team. 1972, which is only 3 years after that, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was named the NBA Most Valuable Player. In 1972, the Cleveland Indians were sold for $9 million. Boy, what a bargain that was, huh? After the Boston Celtics right here, $9 million seems like pocket change, doesn't it?
Now, let me ask you, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he started off in Milwaukee, right?
Bucks.
I think so. And then he ended up out of L.A.
How or why did they trade him to
To L.A.?
To L.A. I mean, I don't. Come on.
It seems
come on.
like it was his third season that he got that the deal was made, and I don't remember who it was for. But
I mean, who in the right mind would have traded him to go to L.A.?
You know, a lot of people, when he went into the pros, didn't think, he didn't have the muscle, to stand up to those inside players. Well, they were wrong.
Yeah, I guess so.
They were wrong on that deal.
Had a good hook shot.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's making one heck of a commercial this year. Have you seen his commercial for the NCAA tournament?
Yeah.
I mean that.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see him back on TV. He's always had a lot of personality.
1989, NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle retires after 29 years. 29 years, that's a long stint for commissioner. He saw a lot of things come and go in those 29 years.
He was a big-time great commissioner for the NFL.
Deaths on this day, 1974, Peter Revson. I'm sure you aren't familiar with him, but he was an Indianapolis 500 guy and driver, and he finished second in the 1971 Indianapolis 500. He was killed in practice at the South African, practicing for the South African Grand Prix. He was 35 years old. He drove for Roger Penske here at Indianapolis, in fact, and was an outstanding automobile driver. He was heir to the Revlon Cosmetics. He was one of these guys that he really didn't need to drive a race car. There was no need for him to drive a race car at all. He was a very wealthy guy, but he lost his life there in South Africa. Dallas Green, baseball manager of the Phillies and Yankees, he passed away in 2017 at the age of 82. And we just talked about Elgin Baylor up here in the 58 championship game for Seattle. He passed away on this date in 2021. Of course, he played for the Lakers, and he was 86 years old. So there you go.
Hey, can we make the fast signs pitch now?
Yeah, this segment is brought to you by Fast Signs. There you go. There you go.
That's the highlight of the show. If that is, I can't figure out.
I knew I left something out there.
It's okay. I totally missed out on mentioning Mandy B Street Realty before we started with Heritage. So,
all right.
We're having that day without Donnie here. We're not flawless without him.
That's
I
right.
mean, it's
right.
just a shoulder. We can get Donnie here. Just get him in the chair, and
we're just trying to get by.
We'll see how he does with painkillers next week. We'll see
if he's got any extra ones. Bring him with him.
Dwayne Easter, Tennessee, the other day took on Walford, and really they jumped out there to about a 12 or 13 point lead right there before the half. Start of the second half, and it just sort of stayed there. It didn't move anywhere. The big difference in the game, and was Chaz Lanier, 29 points.
He shot really well.
He took over the game.
He took over the game. And it wasn't all of them from long shots, too. He was getting inside, 15, 20 feet out right in that area, too, which is good. And, I mean, it was nothing but net when he was shooting. Yeah. It's like
I failed to mention this. I wanted to mention, I'm going to go ahead and change subject a little bit, but Tony White's not here this morning because he's up in Lexington. He's up at Lexington. And he was on television the other night. He was on TV. Just want to mention that we're glad that we have made him famous on this radio show. No, aren't you glad, Tony Ierulli? He's now getting TV appearances and so forth. We have made him.
Yeah, moving on.
like now to get into on our show, we're going to have to go through an agent.
Right.
Right. You're his agent, aren't you?
NIL man.
Yeah.
You know what? But if you're talking about Lanier, though, when you go from Sunday and Florida defenders in your face to Thursday and having Wofford defenders, that basket probably looked twice as large.
Yeah.
To him.
Yeah. I just think Tennessee was. I think Wofford was just outmanned.
Yeah.
In that game. I mean, the statistics for the most part were pretty even. Outside of Lanier's 29 points, and we had 14 turnovers. Tennessee had 14 turnovers. There's quite a few turnovers for them.
And if he shoots like that, we'll be winning some games.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting in connect territory here and above.
Gainey's playing good too.
Yeah. But I mean, you said with 14 turnovers, but Zakai Ziegler didn't have any of them. Yeah. And he has a double-double. 12 points, 12 rebounds, or 12 assists. Sets the new school record.
Tennessee takes on UCLA tonight, 9:40. It's going to be a late nighter, boys, and that game's not going to be over till 12:30 or 12:30 or 1 o'clock. And
so, how do you think they're going to guard that big man? Are they going to double up on him?
Don't know. They're going to. Well, we're stronger. We're stronger inside than they are. I think they're going to challenge him. I think Tennessee's going to go after him.
We just don't need to get in foul trouble, but it's going to be hard with that big guy.
But there's only one of him. And like I said, they just got through with Florida where they had to defend 2 of them.
I just worry about. I watched them play Wofford, and Wofford, they were okay. They weren't a very good basketball team. I mean, they were just okay, and you know, you look at teams' different styles. This is what really worries me in the SEC or in the NCAA tournaments. Is you see these teams from different conferences with different styles, and you're not used to playing them like the teams in the SEC. And sometimes you get to play in their style. Yeah. And I sensed in that game with Wofford the other day that even though Lanier had the big game, at times we kind of looked like we were playing a Wofford style.
Yeah.
You know, kind of. I hate to use the term kind of falling all over ourselves a little bit. We got sloppy with the ball.
Just playing
so
good enough to possibly win.
And now you got a UCLA game, which you're going to be favored going into the game tonight, and you got a good coach there, Cronin, on the other side, and this is a very capable UCLA team of
hopefully
taking you out.
Hopefully we don't get in foul trouble early, because that can make a big difference. You know, if that big guy's in there, and he came off the bench too, didn't he? That guy, I don't think he even started.
Well, that can be a problem in this run in the tournament. Is we're not a real deep basketball team, and you can't afford to get a Lanier in trouble, and you can't afford to get a Gainey, or for God's sake, you can't afford to get a Ziegler in trouble.
No.
So, like we were talking about earlier. There's a lot of things that go into, you know, a run for a championship, preparation, and you can talk about all of those things, and discipline, and taking care of the ball. But there's that luck factor, buddy. I'm telling you right now, there's some luck that comes into play, and you got to be lucky. You got to be lucky, and sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Yeah.
At times.
And that's the trap, you know, in the first round of the games. Sometimes you get these mid-majors coming in, and they're not taking them as seriously as getting ready for UCLA.
Exactly.
And what happens? You start playing a little bit down to their level, and that's where the upsets occur in that first round. So they just needed to get through that, and then.
I thought we played pretty good. So I mean, if they play like that, against UCLA, and don't get in foul trouble. And turnovers. We don't have a lot of turnovers.
Yeah.
And see, I want to ask three of you this. We only had, like last year, we had 7 upsets in the first round. This year we had 3. I'm wondering if we will see more upsets starting today in the second round because of that.
Probably.
I kind of think so.
Probably.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that could happen. We're going to talk about that a little bit here in a few minutes.
I'm prefacing something here. Didn't even know it.
He's got already written down on page 8.
At Tennessee right now, I've got them as a low ceiling, getting beat tonight, second round.
What do you think?
As a low ceiling. High ceiling, I've got them in the Final Four, boys.
Yeah.
I've got them in the Final Fours. I think this team is capable because of their defense of getting to the Final Four. Now, I'm not saying they'll win it. I'm not saying they'll win it, but I'm saying they got a great shot.
They do have
They got a great shot to do there. So I'll go around the table. I'll start with you, Marcus. What's your low ceiling and high ceiling for this team?
I have the same low ceiling you do. I am concerned tonight just because Tennessee's history with UCLA, Barnes' history with UCLA, his coaching matchup here, none of them are what I consider strong positives, so I'm a little bit worried about the matchup. So I think that's their low bar. Their top bar, they're a Final Four team, and what happens once you're a Final Four team is pure luck at that point.
Yeah. So you're along my lines. What do you think, Tony?
Well, I think Tennessee, first of all, I think they're always pretty well coached.
Yeah.
All right. And I think Barnes understands the position that they're in. I think UCLA, obviously, they got the big man in the middle. They've got to be able to do a great job defending him. But, I think they'll rise to the occasion and do well against UCLA. I really do.
Yeah. Dwayne?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way you're talking. But this big man, he's not as good as Edie, but he is still, if he gets it down low, you know, I watched him like last night. He can score, you know, and we might have to double up on him. But the rest of the team were just kind of okay. That's kind of the way I looked at it. But having a 7-3 guy makes a big difference.
We don't have anybody here has got them stumbling in the Sweet 16, but now
I think they will go to the Final Four if they get past
it. If Kentucky gets by Illinois, you're going to have to play Kentucky again, and I don't even want to think about losing to them for a third time.
I think we'll get them.
And Illinois, you know, that'll kind of be a revenge game because we beat them on a last-second shot up in Champaign early in the year.
It's hard to beat.
So you're going to get somebody. But the good part about that, you've seen both those teams.
It's hard to beat a team. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. So I would say if we.
But if you get Illinois again, and you're playing them, and it's a close game, and Tennessee's down to 1 possession.
Gainey.
Who are you going to defend? Because at this point, and if you're Illinois, you're thinking, well, I'm not going to let Gainey shoot it. But then you're thinking, I'm not going to let Ziegler shoot it or Lanier shoot it. And then you're going to think, well, there's an Alabama game. I'm going to let Mishak put it up. I mean, you've created Tennessee's created their own problem for the final possession.
I think I'd almost let Gainey again. He's pretty good. And when they really need him, he steps up. I mean, he just does. I'd let him shoot the last shot.
I think he's become the player Tennessee envisioned him becoming last year.
Yes, and he's got stronger. The guy that does the weight stuff over there, those guys look a lot stronger, especially Gainey. He was kind of, slender last year, but he's kind of like one of them football guys now a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's such a big deal nowadays, especially in the weight training and all that. I mean, it used to be where you'd have, like in football, you'd have your defensive line coach be also your strength coach.
Yeah,
in charge of that. Now it's a whole different deal where all teams have their own strength and conditioning coach, and he's the guy that's working them. And
well, they need to keep this guy. Whoever.
And they're highly valued and highly paid positions.
Oh yeah,
and there's a whole industry there.
Correct.
And it's not like you just. It's not like you're the high school gym teacher anymore that can just step up and try to get lucky.
Right.
Well, Gainey kind of got pushed around a little bit last year, but this year he's got a lot stronger.
Yeah.
He's holding his own now.
I really like Tennessee's. I like Tennessee's draw. I like Tennessee's seed. I like that we're going to Lexington. Then you got a chance to go to
Indianapolis. It's a good thing we weren't number 1 seed, right?
I like that, but you know what? Illinois and Kentucky sitting there saying the same thing. I really like our seed because here's Illinois right next to Indiana, and they're right there where they can get. And there's Kentucky. Don't think they're going to go up there to Indianapolis. You see?
Yeah.
I mean, so. I don't know. I don't know if everybody else. I guess everybody else is liking it too. Is what I'm trying to say. That we're looking at the next go around. But if I'm looking at a number 1 seed, which we might have had if we'd have beaten Florida, then you could have been looking at. You could have been looking at where Florida's at right now. You could have been looking at, a game with, I don't know, UConn's in there.
Yeah.
UConn, and you got Maryland. Maryland's still in.
UConn looked okay last night. They're not the
they're not
typical,
the team from the last 2 years, obviously.
But they got a lot to play for.
Those big men played good for them last night.
They got a lot to play for. So,
but Florida, I mean, if they look like they just been playing very consistently here lately. I mean, it's like, dang, do they ever have an off game? Especially that Clayton guy.
Marcus, I like the matchup with UCLA today from a historical standpoint because UCLA is a storied basketball program. Even though they've been dormant for a while as far as championships, they still got that. They still got that mystique about them. UCLA, John Wooden, national championship, so forth and so on. And then you've got the story where Barnes was thinking about taking that job a few years ago, and they hired Cronin, who's the coach out there right now, and he's done an outstanding job there at UCLA.
Well, they wanted Barnes.
They wanted Barnes, so you got that story right now, and
the reason why he didn't take it because really the cost of living and all that. I think the contracts. He had a better contract, even though it was roughly around the same type of money. He had a better contract if he would have stayed at Tennessee compared to going on over to UCLA.
Well, you definitely don't want to lose that game tonight Marcus, if you're Rick Barnes, because then you're saying, "Oh, maybe I should have taken that job."
Well, and I'd say maybe your house would have burned down. But, you know,
That's right.
not to pick on that, but I mean, I think the thing of this game is it's more about the matchup and is this going to be a Big Ten win over the SEC? I think that's if Tennessee were to lose, I think that storyline would overshadow the actual Tennessee UCLA matchup.
So you look at it as an SEC versus the Big Ten type of match.
Unfortunately, and I will
With UCLA.
Tony picked on this, but you know, if you think about it, the ACC now, where we got Stanford, and we've got Carolina, so you know, the sea to shining sea, you know, is really California to Carolina.
Oh yeah.
That's
well, it's not
ACC.
It's not the Atlantic Coast. It's the All Coast Conference.
It's the
It covers all the
AC2.
coast.
It should be the AC2C.
Yeah. It's the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean,
Yeah,
The
there's
all
Gulf
oceans
of
come-
America Ocean.
yeah, there's no boundaries.
Yeah,
But
No
But
boundaries
if they've
in
not
there.
played against a guard like Ziegler, you know, I think that's huge too. Since they've not played each other.
That's
Yeah, I'm not so sure that they've played the physicality.
Yeah,
I know there's some teams in Big Ten that's got some physical play with them. I think Michigan State, Michigan, I think both of those have got some physicality, but not all of that. You look at the SEC, that whole league's a physical league, isn't it?
it's just-
Dwayne? Pretty much from top to
So,
bottom.
I think we have the edge just because of that too. Ziegler, the way he'll be playing.
I want to
and-
see that matchup though with because if in the SEC the bigs move, all the bigs in the SEC have good feet and can get out of the way and move defensively. If you can't move defensively and get out of the paint, Ziegler is going to victimize you, and you're going to be in foul trouble very quickly.
And he'll take it at that 7'3" guy.
And I mean, it's going to be the 5'6" guy against the 7. I mean, there's almost 2 feet of difference.
Yeah. But he's not afraid to get.
But you're going to get some calls because of that size difference if you play it right.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, UCLA, you know, they come in the game and, you know, their coach goes, well, we're playing the number one defensive team. We're going to have to take care of the basketball, so and so. But, you know, that kind of just goes, you know, those players are focused on who they've played during that year. You see, that's where this difference of conference and all that comes into play. And you think, man, Florida's really playing well and Auburn's really playing well and we're really playing well. And then you get someone there, hey, listen, you got a game today, Auburn and Creighton. Listen, there's 2 different styles right there, but Creighton they can play.
Oh,
Listen,
yeah.
that's a very winnable game. That's an upset
Yeah,
right there. You got to
Creighton-
watch that game.
Creighton plays good.
Well, they got the big guy inside. They got 2 big guys
I
inside.
wouldn't be surprised if Auburn loses.
That's
today.
what I'm saying. You got
Yeah.
2 different styles. You're used to playing that, you know.
I would be surprised just because of what happened to Auburn last year. I don't think anybody on the Auburn team is going to forget what the pain feels like losing in a first-round upset. I don't think they will overlook anyone.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see about that. But, you know, Creighton's a well-coached basketball team. That guy's been around for a while. And I tell you what I like about Creighton is they shoot the ball really well and they pass well. They're fundamentally sound passing the basketball. You don't see that much in college basketball.
And they're
you
not
might see 1 or 2 guys that can do that on a team, but Creighton's got all 5 guys. They can move the ball now.
And they're not intimidated by going against one of those larger schools like that.
Exactly.
And so, you know, there's no fear factor with that.
Yeah. Hey, we'll take a timeout here, and when we return, we'll be back to close out today's show. You're listening to the Goteez Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports. Very good.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, and I'm here along with Coach Tony Ierulli, assistant football coach at Carson Newman College, and ex-Alcoa basketballer Dwayne Easter.
You're an ex.
And Marcus Fitzsimmons.
You were
longtime sports writer.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, I just want to say real quick, again, honor Rick Howard with what he's done over at Heritage.
Outstanding.
That's great. I wore my Salem College shirt since he played at Salem College. It was a great football player at Salem College. I coached there for 3 years and all that. So I found my Salem College shirt. So, again, big-time congrats.
I want to say a shout-out to my Alcoa Tornadoes playing today. Hopefully a three-peat.
Three-peat.
So
Go Alcoa.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I want to mention Maryville High School. Doing a great job being in the they made it to, was it the semifinals?
They made it to the quarterfinals.
Quarterfinals, and just a great job by Lambert and and Maryville High School, and congratulations to them as well.
Yeah. NCAA tournament, Marcus. We got some real matchups today. I've got them checked off here.
Oh no!
Down in the west, down in the west, Arkansas and St. John's. You got the Godfather, Rick Pitino, against John Calipari.
I think you just have the two head coaches go at each other.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big game right there. St. John's is on a roll. Arkansas playing pretty well. Arkansas is very athletic, and St. John's. My eyes are on that. I got St. John's in the Final Four, guys. I find it hard to bet against Rick Pitino basketball team. I tell you what, I think he's one of the premier coaches. You can put all the garbage beside, but he's won everywhere he's went. He's in his second year at St. John's, and when he wins quick at these schools he goes to.
Yeah.
And
I think it's just amazing that you have 64 teams in there, and the odds of those two head coaches going against each other. You don't think it just. You don't think that was planned out?
And you listen to them, and you would think that there's never been any big games between them, or they've never. But you remember some of those Memphis, Kentucky games?
Oh yeah.
I mean, in the Final Four, there was a Sweet 16 matchup. I mean, these are two.
And then when they were at Pitino was at Louisville, and Calipari was at Kentucky. They had some.
And Memphis got put out yesterday, didn't they?
They did.
They did.
And, I mean, Tony could probably speak to this. There's probably a lot of. I mean, this could start wars in places and neighborhoods.
Oh yeah. Nothing worse than having a couple of Italians going against.
I look for that game up and down, physical game. It's going to be rough under them boards in that ball game right there. And I got another one checked up here that I'm going to watch is Florida and UConn. You say, well, UConn's not, they're not the same team, but I'm going to tell you, they've been there, done that.
Yeah.
And they got themselves a solid coach, and they're going up against a Florida team that's, everybody's telling them, they're all patting them on the back, your Final Four, we got you picked to win it all. They're hearing all of that. I don't know. Better watch that one right there.
Florida's aware that this is the past two-time national champion, all that.
Like Clayton's shoot.
But if you think about a coach that has the ability with just their chatter on the side court to disrupt a team just by what he is saying to his players, this would be that game.
Yeah.
Hurley can be extremely disruptive and intentionally so. Just by what he says to his players, that gets in the other team's head.
I thought Hurley was a mild, shy, mild-mannered type. My bad.
On that southwestern side, I mean, I'm looking at a lot of even matchups. I mean, Michigan, Texas A&M. I mean, what up? Ole Miss and Iowa State. New Mexico, Michigan State, New Mexico. Played really well yesterday. Beat a good Marquette team, upset the number 7 seed there. And down here you got Colorado State, who was a 12 seed, upsetting Memphis. Yeah. And they're playing Maryland. So, and then you got Drake, they beat Missouri. A good shooting Missouri team. And then you got Texas Tech. I mean, you got some really even matches. How do y'all, Dwayne? We'll go around. I'm seeing some even games right there, huh? Tough games.
Yeah, like he's talking about Drake. They're playing really well, and of course, like I say, Florida. I think it's just going to be hard to beat Florida the way they're playing.
Yeah,
they're just.
Well, Bruce Pearl wouldn't be glad for you to be talking like that.
I think Auburn's going to go out pretty soon.
You think so?
I do. I think they're going to
You know,
go
we
out.
didn't even talk about that because it happened but it happened after we went off the air last week. Tennessee beating Auburn was huge last Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a huge confidence boost for the team.
Yeah.
I mean, if they lose that game, I mean, they're probably still a 2 seed, but their confidence level may not be as high as it is right now.
And to me, Auburn might not get the calls like they're normally getting in this tournament. I mean, and they seem to complain a little bit when they don't get the calls they want.
Yeah.
If it's called the way it should be, I think they'll be out. I just do.
Yeah, I think they're struggling a little bit. I think Auburn's struggling a little bit. I don't feel real comfortable with Auburn right now.
Broom I don't think he's playing quite as well as he was. I don't. Maybe didn't he hurt it? Maybe his ankle a little bit or something, or.
I don't know what it is. I think they're not playing as well as they were at times during the season.
Not peaking at the right time.
That's
possibly.
right. I'm looking down here in the Midwest at a couple of games. A lot of people got Houston, in the Final Four, but they got Gonzaga today. There's another team. Look what they did. I mean, they just hammered Georgia. They just absolutely
One time I looked at it,
hammered them.
It was like 28 to 3.
I mean, you're like
that.
you're like you played in the SEC, the best league in the country, and you're playing a Gonzaga team that's just had an all right year. They're an 8 seed. They just had an all right, and you get yourself drilled.
Yeah, and I kept telling my wife, here they go. They're going to say SEC. They're overrated. They're overrated.
Yeah. But Marcus, they're going. Houston. I think that's a test for them. Today.
I still say Houston's going to win.
If it was a year or two ago, it would be a great second-round game. But I don't think Gonzaga has the firepower to hang with the big guys right now. I mean, they can beat a Georgia, but a Georgia's a team that I never really thought should have been in.
Yeah.
Houston is one of those teams that defend real well.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have a game, that's sort of, low scoring. And when you have that low scoring, every possession, starts to mean something.
Yep.
And then the next thing you know, you could have a Gonzaga still in the ball game. You look up and you go, golly, there's 5 minutes to go in the game, and they're still in it.
I still go with Houston.
Yeah. I mean, and they're well coached too. Their head coach over there, I forget his name, but he's.
So
he's
guys
one of the better coaches.
Going back to Houston. That's what you're saying. Going back to Houston. Hey, Purdue. There's a Final Four team last year.
I hope they get beat.
Final Four. I'm telling you right now, I think this is a good matchup. McNeese State and Purdue today. I think McNeese State very capable of upsetting Purdue.
Yeah.
Nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
All you can do is put on the Cinderella shoe if you win this.
Exactly. And Purdue, they're not the Purdue we saw last year by any stretch of the imagination. This is pretty much a guard-oriented Purdue team. And you got a McNeese State team. It's a pretty good guard-oriented team, quick,
a good game,
and very athletic.
And going in the game with a lot of confidence.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me one bit if McNeese State became the Cinderella right there.
Yeah, and that's going to be the future North Carolina State team.
Yeah.
So they're all playing well together.
And then I got Illinois and Kentucky checked right there. Kentucky had their win, and Illinois beat a good Xavier team, that played into the tournament and beat Texas. So you got Illinois and Kentucky right there.
I think it'll go down to the wire, that game. Well, Illinois and Kentucky. It'll be close.
The thing about Kentucky that's worrisome is they can guard they can't guard anybody. They just can't play defense.
Yeah.
And I just don't think you can win or go far in the tournament, Marcus. Maybe you got a different outlook, but you got to play some D, don't you?
You've got to be able to play some defense in this tournament.
I don't like to say that word.
It's not a matchup.
I like to say offense, and they got a good offense.
You've got to be able to score,
it.
but you've also got to be able to stop people from just running it up on you.
They can't stop anybody, is what I'm trying to say. They just have trouble stopping anybody. So, but anyway, and then we've talked about UCLA and Tennessee, but up here in the upper bracket, you got Duke. I really like that. I still really like Duke.
Yeah.
You know, and I
mean, they're the last
I
ACC
know that
school, right?
I think didn't Tennessee beat them last year, didn't they? Didn't we beat Duke in the tournament 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
But they've got Baylor today, and then you got Oregon and Arizona, and then you got BYU and Wisconsin, and those are all, I think,
Good game.
more evenly matched. This is an evenly matched, I think, second round, very evenly matched as far as all the games are concerned. And then you got St. Mary's here that was in the same league as Gonzaga, and they've got Alabama. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah. Guys, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Dwayne, good to see you again.
Great being here with you.
Yeah, and good to see you, Coach Ierulli. And
I love spending 2 hours talking basketball.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah.
As long as we're winning, Tony probably won't be here. I'll just tell you that.
Yeah. Blow the whistle.
Do it.
Hey, that'll do it for today's edition of the Goteez Sports Page. Boy, we missed Donnie, don't we?
Boy.
Woo, there you go.
Boy.
Yeah. Thanks to Aaron Ishmael back at the Loud Media, our host of Bluetick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For Donnie Moore, Marcus Fitzsimmons, Tony Ierulli, and Dwayne Easter, until next Saturday, this is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, wishing everyone good sports.
And that's the final whistle. Join us again next Saturday for the Goteez Sports Page. The best in local sports since 1978.